What's good, family? Today I want to look at some of the lies, some of the misconceptions, some of the broken paradigms that we hold about ourselves. We spend a lot of time communicating about the erroneous things that we believe to be true about the universe, about God, about other people, about our physical experience. But today I want to focus on some of the foolishness, some of the outlandish slander that you apply to yourself and most of the things on this list. Like, I need for you to be really honest today, because most of the things on this list you would never speak out loud and admit to holding on the inside of yourself. The only evidence that you believe or have partnered with any of these broken paradigms, the only evidence that you have a stronghold on something that is hindering your life. I love Bob Proctor, rest in peace, to one of the greatest teachers to ever grace the platform on Conversations of Universal Truth, the law of vibration, law of attraction. Just trailblazer, man. Spent decades putting things in their proper perspective for those who wanted to pursue truth and knowledge and wisdom and understanding of things beyond the physical realm. But Bob Proctor made a point to say the only demons that you will ever wrestle with are the broken paradigms that you have partnered with in the past. Your erroneous, your illicit, your low-level paradigms and beliefs are the only demons that you will ever have to worry about attacking you. The only demons that you will ever have to worry about wrestling with. The only demons that you will ever have to worry about fleeing from as you resist the temptation to interact, apply, and direct your entire basis of thinking and being on the partnership with misconceptions. So let's look at the first one. I'm not good enough. That's what I mean when I say the things that are on this list, the common lies that we tell ourselves that keep us operating inside of a false sense of comfortability, which is nothing more than a cave that me and my fear cower in. A cave that I go into with my fear to analyze my fear, analyze myself in the dark, because outside of this cave there is a light. There is a light that shineth on me and reveals a truth that this cave and the lie cannot destroy or alter in any way. But this is where I have positioned myself in such a place where what I have told myself to be true about myself can appear to be so. I have to find dark areas to hide in so that I can make the delusional things that I believe about me, that are all based on my performance and my physical presentation and my past mistakes, out to be appearingly true. Understand, you've never been concerned with being right or wrong. You have always been concerned with the appearance of being right or wrong. As long as them people thought you was right, as long as them people bought into what you said, as long as they took it at face value, why are you so upset when people don't just believe the stuff that you say? You're upset because somebody wanted to do research? See, someone who really knows facts, someone who is really looking to pass along fact, understands that their words do not teach. Words are nothing but stimulants. And I may stimulate you to have a particular set of thoughts, but I can't stimulate you to change. See, my words, or whoever words you sit under, they may stimulate you to get up and inspire you to do something, inspire you to go and research something, see something for yourself. But unless you get it from you, you're going to have to keep pretending like you don't know just how selfish and closed-minded you can be. You're going to have to pretend that you don't run into people who you have identified as gurus and successes in certain industries and fields with particular skills that you have only fathomed of having, and took advice from them and took it back into the cave that you have lived your life in the dark, and assessed whether you could see that to be true. You have bumped into people who you know or say you know walks with God, walks with the light, walks in the light, walks in peace, walks with wisdom, walks with experience, has a ton of time studying human nature and studying people, but then they'll get around you and they'll tell you something that you dislike about you, and you'll wrestle against that. But in the same guru, the same knowledgeable person, when they open their mouth and they use their faculties to tell you about an erroneous paradigm and how it has plagued your life and how it presents itself in your presentation, you're upset. And all of a sudden they're an idiot. When they're trying to tell you how good you are, when they're trying to tell you how perfectly you were created, when they're trying to tell you of the abundance that is at your fingertips, when they are trying to tell you of the goodness of the Father, the goodness of the Son, and the bliss of the relationship between the two, and all you can recall is your past dysfunction and your past mistakes and your past separations. All you can remember is you ain't never really got along with nobody, and the people that you did get along with, you cleaved to them so strongly that you tried to keep them, and they slipped right between your fingertips, and you found a way to blame them. You didn't identify your fear. You didn't identify your inability to see yourself as competent and lovable and accepted and approved of just as you were. You went inside of yourself and you made projects of healing, projects of peace, projects of reformation. You went inside of yourself and tried to undo the work of your relatives, your ancestors. You thought that you could identify the dysfunction within you that you needed to change and go in and build plans to change it and leave behind what was good. But that's just you being the judge, and all of it belongs to you, and you don't know really where none of it came from because you're unconscious of where you picked it up from. You have millions of thoughts, millions of ideas every moment, and you're only grabbing 40 to 50, 60, 70, 80 of these thoughts consciously. And then you're not even retaining them. You're not even able to recall what these thoughts were. You're having conversations with people that you enjoy about things that you're excited about. And then an hour later, you can't even remember when y'all called each other back, where y'all left off in the conversation and where to pick up. I just remember the feeling. I just remember that we were having a conversation that we were either enjoying or a conversation that was becoming tense and strained. But if you ask us, we say that we remember the whole thing. But if somebody tells us to give the details, we'll say, if you give me some time, I could probably do that. Okay, well, it sounds like you don't remember all of it and you need a moment to recall. But we were not trained to be honest. We were trained to be really deceptive. We were trained to be really misleading. We were trained to be really prideful. We were trained to pretend. And a pretender is not a student. A pretender does not progress. A pretender only performs for those who are either watching or not even looking their direction. A pretender grows impatient with themselves because even they know that what this is that they are presenting is not truthful and honest. The life of a pretender is heavy because a pretender is always doing two things simultaneously. They can never do one thing. They're always doing at least two things at once at all times. They are pretending and they are assessing whether their act is being received and approved of or being rejected so that they can make applicable changes. They're always pretending and judging, judging and pretending, pretending and judging, judging and pretending that they're not pretending while they're pretending that they're not judging. You get caught up in a loop. You get caught up in a cycle. And this is how all of these ideas, all of these lies that we believe about ourselves start. I'm not good enough. That's not something that you practice coming out of your mouth. You tell everybody you're good enough. You tell people that you're beyond good. And if you don't think that you're good enough, you don't open your mouth and say much of anything. And if you do open your mouth and say something, it's not to say that you're not good enough. you say stuff like, oh no, I might be able to do that. I mean, I did it one time before, like, I mean, if you don't mind me trying, I mean, I try. What do you mean try? Try shouldn't be in any of our vocabulary because it's not a factual presentation. If you tried, that means that you entered into an action, you entered into a situation carrying resistance against your ability to complete it. You were taught, you were told, you have been guided back to the ancient way, which is to see yourself where you want to be before you arrive, because that's the only way that you will get there. You were taught to call things to yourself. You were told to say that things are what they aren't until they are, because that's the power of your creative nature. If you're going to lie to yourself and deceive yourself, at least you could do it in a constructive, beneficial way. I'm not going to tell myself I'm not good enough. I'm going to tell myself that I am more than enough until I align with what I'm saying, and it is no longer something that I do not see as true for myself. Just like we programmed ourselves in reverse, just like we broke our belief systems in reverse, we turned our houses upside down. We didn't go around telling ourselves that I'm more than enough until more than enough was what we felt that we were, and then we began to operate in action in a way that aligned with what we believed to be true. We haven't seen positive factual realities harden into fact for us. We've saw illusions and negative elements harden into fact in our lives because that's what we've been trained to look for. You have been trained to wake up and look for what is wrong, what is off course, what is not right, so that you can fix it, which is a big indication that you know how everything and everyone should be. You have the ability to see what is wrong with everything and everyone, and nothing is wrong with you, because if you're able to see these two terribly contrasting extremities, then when do you have time to assess yourself? When do you have time to see what your presentation is? When do you have time to dive into the inner dialogue that you are having and see if there is anything within it that is driving what it is that you're judging on the outside? I propose that if you were willing to judge yourself the way you judge others, you would see that the inner inventory that you carry spills over into the very people and experiences that you spend so much of your time applying words, negative words and connotations to. We're not telling ourselves that we're not good enough anymore. Good enough for who? Good enough for what? The reason that you know that whether you say it or not, you partner with it, is there are certain opportunities that you would send an application in for, you would show up for. If they were looking for people, they told people to stop by the office. They told people to, pull up to 75th Street and meet them at 3 o'clock. Anyone that's interested in doing such and such. There are some of these opportunities that you would take, and there are some of these opportunities that you would not. Now, you would pretend that you would only take the opportunities that you want to take. I would propose that you would only take the opportunities that you are convinced that you could successfully pull off without being embarrassed. Because listen, we've already established that we're desperate in the pursuit of money. So if somebody tells us that there's an opportunity at 79th Street or whatever I said, and we're meeting at 3 o'clock or whatever I said, why wouldn't I show up if the opportunity was based on money and my attendance? But below that, there's probably a description, and there's probably some prerequisites and some things that are being required of anybody that's going to show up. And it's going to have that I got to have a degree, or I got to have some years of experience. I need to be at least a high school graduate, or have a GED, and I need to be 18 years old. I need to be over 21. There's going to be some things that begin to categorize and specify who it is that this company is looking for to fill this opportunity. And then that's not even still what stops me from going, because even if I was 15 years old and I had a bicycle and I could get to 79th Street at 3 o'clock, what's stopping me from going? It's not the list of requirements that stops you from going. It's you knowing, or you getting it in your head that you're going to be rejected when you get there, that stops you from going. You look at that list of requirements, those keywords, and you look and say, okay, well, I ain't got no degree, I ain't got no experience. It's my first time jumping out the gate, and they don't look like nobody that's going to be trying to hire me and teach me and show me nothing. They want somebody that's experienced, This is the way we see the world. This is the way we communicate. The way we judge the world is the way that we refuse to see ourselves and the way we present ourselves in the world. But it is the truth of our presentation, even though likely it is very far from the truth of our design. We are constantly talking about, you go to school and you get your degree, and then you get out and won't nobody hire you in your field because you ain't got no experience. Now you need experience. Ain't nobody trying to hire nobody without experience. No, you have a broken paradigm. You have a demon that you have been allowing to rest in your living room. And it's time that you cast that demon down. It's time that you put that illusion, that imagination, in its place where it belongs. In the grave. No more. Anything that is not true, anything that is not factual, anything that is not reality, anything that is not love must be dethroned, decapitated, and remembered no more. It's time to put the pettiness behind you. It's time to put the past trauma behind you. It's time to put the drama that these people are getting caught up with around you and calling your phone and clogging your time up with. It's time to put it behind you. It's time to stop looking over your shoulder and turning into a pillar of salt. It's time to actually progress. It's time to move on. And we move on when we stop telling ourselves lies like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Have you connected to people who aren't good enough in their presentation, not their identity? Because we understand in our identity, we were all created by Source, who is good, so all are good, but many do not know such things. So me thinking that I'm not good enough sends out a negative vibration, a negative attraction, and I partner with someone who believes that they are not good enough. Now we both sit inside of this dysfunctional relationship that we have built with each other based on the insufficiency of us. And now, when I look over at you and I see you talking to somebody of the opposite sex, I feel insecure because you just might be over there talking to somebody that's good enough. I'm not good enough keeps you partnered with people out of desperation, out of compromise, settling because you have a broken way of seeing yourself. If only you knew how awesome you were, if only you knew how valuable you were, if only you knew how treasured you were, if only you knew how called and purposed you were, if only you knew how much there was for you to do, if only you knew how many people would love to be connected to you, if only you knew how many people see amazing in you. You wouldn't keep going around them people that be describing you in weird ways. You wouldn't keep going around them, even though a lot of these people are your relatives. A lot of these people are people that you have tolerated in your life for a long time. They have watched you fall. They have watched you trip. They have watched you stumble. They have watched you get up. But many of them only talk about the falls, the trips, and the stumbles. They don't talk about how many times you got up. They don't talk about the fact that you're still on your feet. And that's how you know that them not your friends. That's how you know that those people do not have the best interest for you. That's how you know that those people are in competition, comparing themselves and their presentation to yours And you need to get away from them folk. One of the first big lies that we tell to ourselves is I'm not good enough, and that's going to stop today. We are no longer talking to ourselves that way. Anytime you get it in your head that there's an opportunity that is too great for you, you remember that inside of you there's one greater than all things. So therefore, if that great thing, that one that is greater than all things is in you, then how can something be too good for you? How can the mansion be too good when the mansion is but a tangible object, something that's going to rot and decay one day? You are an eternal being that is creating your path as you go based on what you set your attention on. The answer to what you request and petition on the inside, subconsciously, is always yes and more. If you want it, then set your attention on it, feel it in. You are absolutely more than enough. Look at how you've torn down your life, torn down your consciousness, torn down your mental states, all with nothing but your partnership with lies about yourself. You believe that you was not good enough. And people keep telling you now that you're not good enough. Not because you aren't good enough. Not because you were right. But because them telling you you aren't good enough is supposed to be a reflection for you to see and realize what it is that's haunting your experience. Listen to them, not for insults. Listen to them for insight. They are giving you back. They are kicking back to you what you have kicked to yourself unconsciously. They're not saying anything new. If they say you mumble and you hard to understand, at some point you have within your consciousness and attention on the inside of yourself said to yourself something about mumbling and you possibly being hard to understand. And you've partnered that with fear and other feelings. And you've found what you thought were solutions, but they were nothing. They were nothing but subtrails. Nothing but illusionary fixes to illusionary issues. Just something to follow. Just something to distract you.